There's a new law that's changing the landscape for American citizens who invest on the stock market. After 20 years of quiet work, federal filings reveal how U.S. citizens can legally stake a claim through one small public company already approved. Most Americans have no idea this opportunity even exists. Let me explain. Do you know the iconic Tiffany & Company flagship store on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan? You could spot the signature Tiffany blue from blocks away. Now that you're picturing it, picture the much taller building right next to it. That's Trump Tower, the very first solo project Donald Trump ever developed. Construction started in 1979 and it reshaped the Manhattan skyline, launching Trump's career as a real estate mogul. But here's what people don't know. The Trump Tower should never have been that tall. The zoning laws in that part of Manhattan had strict height limits, so Trump Tower should have been just another mid-rise building lost in the crowd. Then how did Trump build those extra 20 stories? He bought something most people didn't even know existed. For about $5 million, he bought the air rights above Tiffany's. And because of that one small move, Trump added approximately 20 extra floors to his tower. It's estimated that those extra floors have generated as much as $500 million in additional value over the decades. That's a return of 10,000%. Trump turned every single dollar he put into those air rights, the $100, all from buying something invisible that nobody else thought to claim. Now, nearly 50 years later, Trump's done it again. Only this time, it's not air rights above a jewelry store on Fifth Avenue. It's not 5 million to 500 million. It's something much bigger and much more life-changing. Because this time it doesn't belong to one billionaire developer. It belongs to you. Every legal citizen of the United States now has a claim to what may be the most valuable resource discovery in human history. Under international law, these are Americans' sovereign rights, which means you, as an American citizen, have a constitutionally protected right to your share of this $500 trillion national treasury. Today I'll show you how to stake your claim, but first, you need to understand exactly what Trump just did. Thanks to a single stroke of his pen, America just claimed new territory that stores enough wealth to make every citizen a millionaire for nearly 20 years. A small government task force worked in almost complete obscurity. In a cramped office on the second floor of a Colorado strip mall, scientists, engineers, and maritime surveyors did painstaking work that most people would find numbingly boring. But what they proved could write your family's financial future. They were mapping the ocean floor, proving exactly how far America's continental shelf extends beneath the ocean. It's called the Extended Continental Shelf Project. And when they finished their work in December 2023, they proved something extraordinary. The United States can claim sovereign rights over 386,000 square miles of additional underwater territory. To put that in perspective, we just added an area larger than California and Texas combined, bigger than the entire landmass of Germany, nearly as large as Alaska. But unlike the Louisiana Purchase or the Alaska Purchase, we didn't pay a dime for it. This territory was always ours. We just had to prove it. And now that we have, under international law, the United States has exclusive sovereign rights to all the natural resources on and under that seabed. Nobody can touch those resources without America's permission. Now here's where this gets interesting and potentially very profitable for you and your family. When the government finished mapping this territory, they discovered something that changes everything about America's future. Scattered across this newly claimed seabed, sitting right on top of the ocean floor, are trillions of potato-shaped rocks called polymetallic nodules. Each one contains massive concentrations of 4 critical metals: nickel, copper, cobalt, and manganese. The same metals that power electric vehicles, industrial-scale batteries, advanced weapon systems, artificial intelligence infrastructure, and virtually every piece of modern technology you can think of. And right now, Communist China controls the global supply of almost all of them. But geologists say that America's newly confirmed undersea territory contains more nickel and cobalt than all known terrestrial reserves combined. And that doesn't even include the copper and manganese. Early estimates put the total value of all these metals at approximately $500 trillion. Let me help you visualize that number. If you divided 500 trillion equally among every American citizen, every single person would receive approximately $1.5 million. That includes every man, woman, and child in the country. A genuine American inheritance. Think of it like the Homestead Act of 1862, when the government gave away 160 acres of land to any citizen willing to stake a claim and work it. Millions of Americans became landowners overnight. Families built generational wealth from nothing. This is that moment again, except instead of 160 acres of prairie, we're talking about access to $500 trillion worth of the most valuable metals on Earth. I want every American to get what's rightfully theirs before we go any further. You should know who I am and why I'm so passionate about Americans getting their rightful share of this fortune. I'm Sam Putnam, and I've spent over a decade as an independent analyst focused on one specific mission, helping everyday Americans profit from the same opportunities that Washington insiders, Silicon Valley tech moguls, and Wall Street elites usually keep for themselves. I don't work for a bank. I don't answer to corporate sponsors. I don't attend cocktail parties in the Hamptons with hedge fund managers. I work for you. See, I am the American dream. Grew up going to public schools. Had no connections, but I had a dream and a goal, and I busted my butt to make it happen. Caught a break here. Got lucky there. Won some. Lost some. And eventually, I found my calling. I discovered artificial intelligence in 2014, 5 years before OpenAI launched ChatGPT. And I went on a speaking tour, telling the American public about how it would revolutionize the world. And now, I'm absolutely sick of watching hardworking Americans get shut out of the next generational wealth opportunity, while the connected elite quietly position themselves to profit. So that's exactly what was about to happen with this undersea mining story. The major investment banks were starting to figure it out. Morgan Stanley, BlackRock, State Street, the big funds that manage billions for wealthy families, they've been quietly accumulating shares in this company at prices under $5 and $6 per share. While the majority of the general public had no idea what was happening. They want to steal this inheritance out from under Americans, and I'm not going to let that happen, because this resource belongs to the American people, not to BlackRock or any other hedge fund, not to international bureaucrats at the United Nations, to you. Under international law, America has sovereign rights over this territory, and under American law, those sovereign rights belong to the citizens of the United States. This is the birthright of every American. Some of your ancestors built this country. Some of them fought in her wars. Both you and them have paid taxes your entire lives. All that sacrifice has made America into the greatest nation on earth. And now, there's finally something to show for it. A $500 trillion treasure sitting beneath American-controlled waters. I've never seen something with more potential than this. I've built my entire career on finding these inflection point moments when government policy, national security imperatives, and massive capital flows all collide in a way that creates life-changing profit opportunities for ordinary investors. I recommended Ondas Holdings when most analysts were ignoring the drone warfare revolution and how it was reshaping modern military strategy. I told my viewers this was going to be huge. Wall Street said I was crazy. Viewers who took my advice saw 153% gains. I identified Kinross Gold when precious metal stocks were in the toilet, and most investors had given up on the sector entirely. Gold was supposedly dead. I said the fundamentals told a different story. We closed that at 42% gains. I picked U.S. antimony when China's stranglehold on rare earth minerals first became a serious national security issue. Most people had never even heard of rare earths. That was a 338% winner. I called Spider Gold Trust when the overall sentiment couldn't have been worse. Viewers who followed my advice made another 38% on that one. I got viewers into AXTI during a moment when the semiconductor supply chain was undervalued and overlooked. That was another triple-digit winner, 161% gain. And I picked Bloom Energy because I knew the connection between AI data centers and remote power was about to create a surge in electricity demand. That one went up 204%. Yes, it is true that some of my most extraordinary plays are here, but we're an extraordinary service. We launched This service in September of 2025, almost 6 months ago, from when we launched through January 30th, 2026, we've achieved countless 50 to 100% winning trade recommendations. And over the past 6 months, we've delivered an unbeatable batting average across both winners and losers. That's not hype. That's not a sales pitch. That's fact. Those excellent returns have come during regular bull markets and choppy markets, during China-US tensions and crypto liquidation plays and sore throats. Wins like that aren't lucky guesses or gambles. They're the result of understanding how power, policy, and capital move together. And right now, all three are moving in exactly the same direction, toward America's undersea critical minerals. China has us by the throat, and we need an alternative source immediately. Trump's executive order removed the barriers, and the capital is starting to flow. Defense spending on mineral security, industrial investment in domestic supply chains, government financing for strategic mining operations. Everything is aligned, and the company positioned at the center of all of it is trading at a valuation that completely ignores this reality. But there's a part of the story almost nobody is connected. The only reason you have access to this opportunity right now is because U.S. policy finally snapped back into alignment with reality. And with the threat we're facing, well, because America was reclaiming this resource, China was preparing the exact opposite. A strategy designed to cripple us without firing a shot, and that's where things get serious. China isn't competing with us economically anymore. They're positioning for a strategic strike on our industrial base. Not with missiles, but with minerals. A move analysts have called the modern equivalent of a, quote, Pearl Harbor level attack. Let me paint you a picture of exactly how dangerous our situation with China has become. Right now, the Chinese Communist Party controls 90% of global rare earth processing, 70% of cobalt refining capacity, 60% of lithium processing, and half of all copper refining worldwide. That means nearly every electric vehicle, every advanced battery, every AI server farm, every smartphone, every advanced weapon system, and every piece of modern infrastructure in America is completely dependent on China for the material needed to function. Think about what that means. If China decides to cut off our access to these metals, even temporarily, it would be the equivalent of an economic Pearl Harbor. Actually, it would be worse than Pearl Harbor. When Japan attacked Pearl Harbor in 1941, they destroyed 19 ships and killed 2,403 Americans. It was devastating, brought us into World War II, but our industrial base kept functioning. Our factories kept running. Our economy kept operating. We could rebuild and fight back. If China cut off our access to critical minerals tomorrow, here's what would happen. Every electric vehicle assembly line in America would shut down within weeks. Ford, GM, Tesla, Rivian, all of them would grind to a complete halt. $500 billion that automakers have invested in EV platforms would become worthless overnight. Every industrial scale battery project meant to stabilize our power grid would be canceled or delayed indefinitely. The renewable energy transition that both parties have committed to would collapse. Rolling blackouts would become the norm in major cities. Every tech company building AI infrastructure would have to stop expansion immediately. The data centers that power Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and Meta would be frozen mid-construction. America would fall behind China in the AI race permanently. Every defense contractor would face immediate shortages of the materials needed to build missiles, fighter jets, submarines, and advanced radar systems. Our military would be unable to replace aging equipment or develop next-generation weapons. This wouldn't just damage our economy, it would end America's superpower status. And it's not a hypothetical threat. China's already used minerals as a weapon. In 2010, during a territorial dispute with Japan, China cut off rare earth exports completely. Japan's high-tech manufacturing sector nearly collapsed, and the Japanese government was forced to back down. In 2019, during trade negotiations with Trump, Chinese officials openly threatened to restrict rare earth exports to American defense contractors. They called rare earths China's nuclear option against the U.S. In 2023, China restricted exports of gallium and germanium, two metals critical for semiconductor manufacturing, in direct retaliation for U.S. chip sanctions. Just this year, Chinese President Xi Jinping has been quietly building what analysts call a rare earths OPEC with Russia, Kazakhstan, and several African nations. The goal is simple: create an unbreakable stranglehold on minerals that power the 21st century economy. And we have no one to blame but ourselves. For the past 30 years, American politicians and corporations willingly handed control of our critical mineral supply chain to China. They chased cheap labor and lax environmental regulations. They outsourced our mining, our processing, and our manufacture. And now we're completely at the mercy of a hostile communist regime that makes no secret of its desire to replace America as the world's dominant superpower. The Trump administration understands this threat better than any administration in modern history. And that's exactly why Trump moved so aggressively to secure America's undersea mineral rights, because unlike the politicians who sold us out to China, Trump actually knows how to make a deal. The new Tiffany deal that could save America and make your family rich is this. Remember that air rights deal Trump made above Tiffany's back in 1979? That was genius level deal making. Trump saw an opportunity that nobody else noticed. He identified an asset that everyone walked past every single day without understanding its value. He bought it cheap, and he turned it into a fortune. Now, as president, he's done it again. Except this time, he did it for you. President Trump signed an executive order that will be remembered as one of the most significant economic and national security actions in American history. The order is titled, and it does exactly what Trump has always done in business. It cuts through bureaucratic nonsense and gets things done. Here's what it does. First, it instructs the Department of Commerce and Department of Interior to create an expedited permitting process for companies that want to extract minerals from America's newly confirmed undersea territory. No more decades-long environmental reviews, and no more watching China race ahead while American companies drown in red tape. Trump's order essentially tells the bureaucrats, get out of the way or get fired. Second, it directs the Secretary of War to treat these undersea minerals the same way we treat strategic oil reserves. The U.S. military is preparing to hoard these metals in the national defense stockpile, because without secure access to nickel, cobalt, copper, and manganese, we cannot defend the country. Third, the order explicitly calls for partnerships with private companies to develop this resource. It mentions using the Defense Production Act, grants authorities and procurement financing to support companies that can actually get these metals out of the ocean. Translation: the federal government is about to write massive checks to the companies positioned to mine America's new undersea territory. This is Trump doing what Trump does best. He identified the threat. He secured the asset. He cleared away the obstacles. And now he's unleashing American companies to capitalize on them. Just like he did with Tiffany air rights. Except this time, payoff isn't $500 million. It's $500 trillion. And unlike the Tiffany deal where only Trump profited, this time every American citizen has the right to claim their share. Because under U.S. law, when private companies extract resources from federal territory, American citizens can invest in those companies and profit alongside them. This isn't a handout. Every citizen has the right to claim their share of this for less than the cost of one coffee from a fancy cafe. And it gets even better. The Department of the Interior just released the newest critical minerals list. And here's what matters. Every single metal found in polymetallic nodules is now officially on that list. Nickel, cobalt, copper, manganese, all four. So what does that actually mean for you as an American who wants to claim their stake? Well, a critical minerals designation isn't just a fancy label. It unlocks real specific financial advantages that go straight to the companies producing these materials. There's a 10% tax credit on production costs. That's money that goes straight to improving margins and returns to shareholders. And they get access to Defense Production Act financing. The company now qualifies for federal loans, loan guarantees, and government purchase commitments specifically set up to speed up domestic production of critical minerals. That's Uncle Sam backing the project with real dollars. All their permitting will be fast-tracked through what's called Fast 41. critical mineral projects get access to an expedited permitting system that, according to the Federal Permitting Improvement Steering Council, cuts environmental impact statement timelines by 45%. No more regulatory delays means more money coming in the door faster. They have access to $62 billion in Department of Energy loan guarantees. The DOE's Loan Programs Office can now provide loan guarantees for this company's mining, processing, and manufacturing operations. That's federal backing for financing. They can get direct federal grants, multiple Department of Energy offices, like the Office of Fossil Energy and Carbon Management, the Office of Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy, and the National Energy Technology Laboratory. All run these grant programs specifically for critical mineral projects. The company I'm going to tell you about now qualifies, and this might be the most profitable benefit of all. They now get official priority for government stockpiling. The feds can now add these materials to the National Defense Stockpile, which creates a guaranteed government buyer for whatever gets produced. These aren't policy talking points or feel-good initiatives. These are actual, tangible benefits that improve the economics of every single ounce of metal this company brings up from the seafloor. And there's only one company positioned to produce all four of these newly prioritized minerals from the new American territory. Once you know all the facts, it becomes pretty clear this company's stock price is on the verge of taking off. The extended continental shelf got confirmed. China imposed export controls that proved how vulnerable we are. Trump signed the executive order, clearing the regulatory roadblocks. And now, the government has officially designated all four undersea metals as critical priorities with real financial incentives behind mining them. Every single piece just clicked into place. And something this big has only happened once before. If you think the kind of returns I'm talking about sound too good to be true, let me take you back to a moment in American history when almost this exact pattern played out. The year was 1870. The oil industry was in complete chaos. Wells were drilled haphazardly. Prices swung wildly week to week. Fortunes were made and lost overnight. Most people looked at the oil business and saw nothing but confusion and risk. They stayed away. But one man saw something different. John D. Rockefeller understood that oil was about to become the lifeblood of the industrial age. And he understood that whoever controlled it wouldn't just make money, they'd control the entire economy. So while everyone else was drilling random wells and hoping to strike it rich, Rockefeller did something smarter. He built refineries. He constructed transportation networks. He locked up supply agreements. He created the infrastructure to process and distribute oil before anyone else even understood how critical it would become. When Standard Oil went public in 1870, you could buy shares for about $10 each. By 1911, when the government finally broke up the monopoly because Rockefeller had become too powerful, those shares had grown to over $800. That's an 8,000% return, an 80 to 1 gain on your money. If you invested $5,000 in Standard Oil at the beginning, you would have had $400,000 by the time of the breakup. After the government broke Standard Oil into 34 separate companies, those companies continued to grow. Exxon, Mobil, Chevron, Amoco, Conoco, all of those from the Standard Oil breakup. If you had held those shares and reinvested the dividends over the following decades, your return would have been approximately 90 million%. I'm not making that up. That's what actually happened. And that is the real return. A $5,000 investment in Standard Oil in 1870, held through the breakup in the following decades, would have turned into over $4.5 billion by the year 2000. Now, I'm not suggesting this undersea mining company will deliver a 90 million% return. That would be absurd. But I'm telling you, the fundamental pattern is identical. A critical resource the nation cannot function without. One company positioned to control it before anyone else understands the opportunity. A moment when government policy, industrial demand, and geopolitical necessity all point in the same direction. Standard Oil controlled the resource that powered the industrial age. That 90 million% number was real, and this company is positioned to control the resources that will power the digital age, the electrical vehicle age, and the advanced weapons age. And unlike Standard Oil in 1870, which took decades to reach its peak, This opportunity is unfolding right now in real time with the full backing of the Trump administration. But what if something goes wrong? I know some of you are thinking, this sounds incredible, Sam, but what if something goes wrong? What if the next administration reverses Trump's policy? What if environmental groups block it? I want you to understand something. This opportunity cannot be stopped. Not by politics, not by activists, not by anything short of America voluntarily surrendering to China. Here's why. The industries that power modern America have already made irreversible commitments. Automakers have invested over $500 billion in electric vehicle platforms. Those vehicles require massive amounts of nickel, cobalt, and copper. There's no alternative. The factories are being built, the commitments are made. They can't go back. Utilities have committed to restructuring the electrical grid around battery storage. Those batteries need the exact same metals. The modernization plans are approved and funded. The contracts are signed. Technology companies are locked in an arms race to build AI infrastructure. Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, and Apple have collectively committed over $300 billion to data center buildouts. Every one of those facilities requires enormous amounts of copper. They cannot back up. Defense contractors are already designing next-generation weapon systems. Hypersonic missiles, laser weapons, autonomous drones, advanced radar. The Pentagon has awarded contracts totaling hundreds of billions of dollars. Those systems require these metals, and there's no substitute. So you have industrial demand that isn't just rising, it's exploding across every major sector simultaneously. At the same time, China's control over these materials has become a bipartisan national security crisis. Republican defense hawks understand that our military cannot function if China controls our supply chain. Democratic clean energy advocates understand that the renewable transition cannot happen if we're dependent on Chinese processing. Both sides agree. We must secure domestic sources of these metals. Every month we wait, China's grip gets tighter. This company's undersea resource solves all of these problems. The nodules sit on top of the seafloor. No blasting, no underground tunnels, no mountains to hollow out. The environmental footprint is a fraction of traditional mining. It all happens in US-controlled international water. No state or local government can veto, no community opposition, no permitting battle. The resource has already been proven. The technology has been tested. The partnerships are in place. This isn't a hope or a dream. This is ready to go right now. And with Trump's executive order clearing away the regulatory barriers, there's literally nothing standing in the way except time. So when you ask me, can this be stopped? The answer is only if America decides it would rather kneel to China than claim what's rightfully ours. And I don't believe for one second that's going to happen. Not under Trump, not with this Congress, not with China threatening our national security. This is inevitable. The only question is if you're going to be on the train when it leaves the station. So this is how to claim a stake before this goes fully mainstream. Wall Street is already positioning itself behind closed doors. Industrial demand is locked in. Government policy is aligned. And a single publicly traded company sits at the center of it all. If you want to claim your share of this once-in-a-generation resource windfall, you need to know the name of that company now before mainstream coverage sends the price into a new orbit. So stake a claim now. I put together a complete intelligence briefing that gives everything needed to claim a stake in this opportunity. It's called The Hidden Inheritance of the One Company with the Keys to America's Undersea Fort Knox. And inside this report, you'll discover the name and ticker symbol of the company, the complete breakdown of their resources. I'll show you in a live stream the exact size of the polymetallic nodule fields they control, where they're located, and why this is worth trillions. The technology that makes this possible. You'll see how their collection system works, how we know it's ready for commercial scale, and why competitors can't catch up. The partnerships that back my research will show you which major industrial players have committed capital and why their involvement proves this isn't speculative. The depth of the Trump administration's support. You'll see exactly how the executive order clears the way for this company and why government backing makes this a low-risk, high-reward opportunity. The timeline for commercial production, I'll give you the key milestones to watch, and when this company expects to start generating massive revenues. My price targets, you'll know what I expect the stock to be worth at various stages, and when it makes sense to take profits. I'll literally show the trade of the day. And the China factor, I'll show you exactly how desperate China is to maintain their mineral monopoly and what that desperation actually does to increase the value of this American company. This briefing is not available to the public. It's only available to members of my research community, stocks community, who watch the 15-minute live streams. And today, you can join for less than the cost of a tank of gas. When you join stocks community today, here's everything you receive. Immediate access to the one company with the key to America's undersea Fort Knox. The moment you join, you can watch the recordings of each weekday's trade of the day. They have the company name, the ticker symbol, the complete analysis of the market. You get 7 days of trades focused on the opportunities most Americans never hear about. National security investments, critical mineral plays, industrial reshoring opportunities, defense contractor recommendations, kind of stocks that benefit when America rebuilds its strength and independence from China. Real-time alerts when major events happen each day. If this undersea mining company signs a major contract, you'll see the volume and you'll hear from me immediately on the stream. If Trump announces new mineral security initiatives, you'll get the analysis during the same day live stream. If China makes a threatening move, we'll see the volume and I'll show you how to profit from it. Complete access to the trade recommendation library. You'll see every position, every entry price, every current price, and every gain of loss in the recordings. Total transparency, special situation briefings. When opportunities emerge that can't wait for another YouTube video or newsletter email to my valued but free followers, I'll send weekday live stream alerts in the Discord. These often lead to the biggest gains. Now, let's talk about what it takes to get started. Your all-access membership, a full week of stocks community, including everything I just described, is available today for just $25, not $399, not $299, not $199, just $25 for the entire week. Includes immediate access to the undersea mining trade of the day, 5 weekday trade issues, all alerts and updates, and complete past and current trade recommendation access. So think about what you're gaining. The name of a company that could potentially deliver returns of 10 to 1, 20 to 1, or even 50 to 1 on your money over the next few years for less than you'd spend on a nice dinner. But here's what makes this completely risk-free. You have an entire week to decide if this is right for you. Check out the report, follow the recommendations, watch the results, and if at any point during the next week you decide the free material on YouTube or newsletters isn't delivering the value that I talk about here, just contact me, let me know. I'll adjust my content here to better inform my viewers. You will make a difference on this channel, and you get to keep everything received. All the YouTube videos you see here, all the newsletter emails, all the recommendations given out for free on these platforms. I can make this guarantee to you because I'm absolutely confident in what I deliver. Either this research helps reveal how to claim a piece of America's hidden inheritance, or I adjust my programming here. It's that simple. Now just imagine how good my paid content is if I want to hear your feedback this badly on my free content. So here's the deal. We're at a crossroads moment in American history and your financial future. So for 30 years, we allowed China to gain control over the materials that power modern civilization. We outsourced our mining. We shut down our processing facilities. We made ourselves dependent on a hostile communist regime that has explicitly threatened to use that dependence as a weapon against us. That ends now. Trump has claimed 386,000 square miles of new American territory containing $500 trillion worth of critical minerals. He signed executive orders clearing away the barriers that have prevented us from developing these resources. He's essentially handed every American citizen the keys to a fortune that is theirs by birthright. Right now, one small company controls access to the best resource areas. They've proven the technology works. They have industrial partners lined up. They're ready to start commercial production. And they're trading at a fraction of what they're worth because most Americans still don't understand what just happened. There's a brief window to stake a claim at ground floor prices. Once the mainstream financial media figures this out, once defense contractors start signing supply agreements, once the first shipments of American-sourced metals start flowing to battery manufacturers, the stock price will explode. And the opportunity to stake a claim for cheap will be gone forever. You'll be watching from the sidelines, wondering why you didn't act when you had the chance. Or you can join Stocks Community today, get the company name, and position yourself to potentially turn a modest investment into a life-changing fortune. This is the birthright, the inheritance of every American citizen. Click the button below and claim a stake right now. Join Stocks Community. To your wealth and America's future.